I'm Raimond Gaita, and I've written a book of essays and lectures and other writings. It's called Edited by Scott Stephens, and it's coming out on November the 21st. There are essays in it that I think to be a contribution, I hope would be a contribution to philosophy as a discipline, but they're not written in a technical way. In fact, I'm proud to be able to say that reviewers of my work have constantly said that I can write about, I hope this doesn't sound arrogant, that I can write about these difficult matters in philosophy in a way that is accessible to someone who's prepared to think hard. But that's not philosophy as a discipline, that's just thinking. Some things are hard to think about. So I think they're accessible in that way. When Scott Stephens originally proposed that there be a collection, which was some years ago, I resisted. He persisted, and I resisted, and he persisted, and I resisted, and eventually I yielded when I looked through a possible collection and realised that because I'm a philosopher, I'm interested in certain conceptual features of issues which have a generality that transcend the particular occasion. The same with essays on Indigenous issues. A number of people have remarked in the discussion about The Voice just how much what they believe to be misinformation, and I think it was misinformation, echoed the period immediately after Mabo. And most of the essays I wrote about Indigenous matters are post-Mabo, and one of them actually reflection on Mabo, a philosophical reflection on Mabo, and on the idea of collective responsibility, and also on the idea of what the relation is between what we call reasoning and emotion in thinking about law. The essays, in fact, are uncannily resonant with issues of the time now, which pleased me and which made me think that I'd get them together after all. It's worthwhile to think hard. I mean, I hope the book is written in a style that invites them to stick with passages that are hard, trusting that they're not hard only because I can't write properly or something like that. And that issues have really to be followed through. That in a way would seem to be obvious, but it seems to be part of what's lacking in the culture at the moment, to really follow arguments through, that someone will say something and someone will object to it and someone will have another sentence or two in response. But the idea that they go on and say, but that doesn't seem to follow from that. Oh yes it does, but not quite, and so on, which seems to be necessary if there's to be anything that looks like a serious public conversation. The answer I try to offer to someone who says, what, in dark times, when our hopes for what will happen seem constantly to be defeated, and when things seem always to be getting worse, and the terrible forces in the world are becoming stronger, which rather looks like our world at the moment, very sadly, then I say, even in the face of this, if you can focus on those things which have been examples of a love of the world and draw your energy and nourishment from them, then that's the only thing that there can be. Otherwise, the disillusionment is almost certainly to overcome you, and you'll give up. and say it was all dreams, it was all just idealistic nonsense.